This is what it looks like when a website gets a perfect score on a Lighthouse audit. Pretty fireworks, how festive. But what does it mean? Web.dev, also known as Lighthouse, is a way to test your website in 4 key areas: performance, accessibility, best practices, and search engine optimization. So, how can you get a perfect score? The truth is that you pretty much start out with a perfect score. Seriously, the Hello World tutorial is an excellent example. If you've completed the exercise from the first web video on Photics TV, you can just upload that code to your web server and test it out. This is also a great way to see how web.dev works, as there is a problem with the hi.html file. It doesn't have a meta description. That's not a big problem, as it's easy enough to add a description. A meta tag with the name of description and a content value with some text takes care of that. This is how web.dev works. It scans your web page for problems, and then it gives you suggestions on how to fix those problems. This is a great way to improve your website and to improve your skills at creating websites. Running the test again reveals a perfect score. Hooray! Fireworks! I should have made this the 4th of July video. Anyway, that's how you get a perfect score. You go through the list of problems presented by the Lighthouse audit, and then you systematically fix each one. There's a reason this video is appearing so early in this series of web design and web development videos. When building your website, test it early and test it a lot. Doing so can help you to avoid big problems later on. That way, if you make a major change to your website, you can easily pinpoint the cause of a lower audit score. To make testing easier, you can also test your website through a Chromium-based web browser. There's the Lighthouse tab in the Developer Tools, but for more accurate results, incognito mode is recommended. What I find interesting is how the score was slightly lower in the Lighthouse browser test rather than the web.dev website test. That means my score is no longer perfect. Oh no, my fireworks. Sometimes the solution could be a matter of simply rerunning the test. My fireworks are back. The problem here was likely with the web server. If you're hosting your website from slow hardware or a bad web host, you'll never get a perfect score. That's why the Hello World HTML code is so useful. Before you even begin building your website, you can test your environment. If you want to know which web host I use, it's HostRocket. They're in New York State. Photics.com has been hosted there for years, and they're awesome. A video on where to host your website is planned for the future, but for now, know that many problems can be solved by picking a good home for your website. You can make yourself crazy trying to get that perfect score. Photics.com is a perfect example of this. While making this video, the homepage only scored a 99% score in performance. Disappointing. Immediately, I started working on further optimization in order to get that point back, but this was difficult, not without cutting features. I wasn't sure if the change in the score was related to a recent WordPress update, a change in the web.dev website, the addition of WooCommerce to Photics.com, or if the server was just having an off day. Anyway, I eventually got the score back to 100% again, but I don't recommend obsessing over getting a perfect score. It's a moving target. The colors are a good general guide. Green is good, orange is a problem, and red is really bad. If you're building a website for a client, web.dev can help you to explain why certain features can be problematic. As an example, page flipping. All too often, someone will have a book, a catalog, or some other printed publication that they want to put online. Page curls are cool. I like them, but having good ranking on search engines is a lot better. A website is not a book. A website is not a PDF. A website is not a newspaper. Using Lighthouse to audit your website shows the different priorities. Getting a website to place well on search engines is typically a primary goal for a website. While the exact method that Google uses to rank web pages is a secret, it's pretty obvious that slow websites are penalized. But since web.dev is a website from Google, it's important to consider the implications of all 4 categories. Future videos related to those categories are planned for the web design and web development playlist. So if you want to be notified when new videos are available, subscribe to Photics TV. For now, I'll just cover 4 common issues, one for each of the areas covered by a web.dev audit. The first one is what previously blocked Photics.com from a perfect score: tap targets. This SEO issue is why I think web.dev is such a great tool. In an increasingly mobile-first world, It's critical to test for smartphones and tablets. Previously, my mobile testing was fairly limited. I'd load up the website on my iPhone, check a few pages, and then say, "Yup, that looks good." But when Lighthouse was telling me that my site wasn't perfect because of tap targets, I wondered, what's that? After reading the educational material on web.dev, I could see that the problem was real, and I could see how that might annoy mobile users. Links on smartphones need more space around them, as a finger is not as precise as a cursor. It sounds obvious, but it's something that can be easily overlooked. The second common issue is with HTTPS. If you're not using a digital certificate to secure your website, the web.dev audit is not going to be happy. It states that all websites should be protected with HTTPS, even ones that don't handle sensitive data. You don't want the words "not secure" to frighten away your visitors. Those words will appear in modern web browsers when HTTP is used instead of HTTPS. More importantly, you'll want to protect your website visitors. And as it was suggested in the second web video, you don't need to be rich to build websites. The Let's Encrypt website provides free certificates. The process can be automated too, helping to ensure that your website always has a fresh certificate. If you try to use HTTP on Photics.com, it will simply redirect to HTTPS. That's important to remember when running your audit. If you don't enter the direct URL on the web.dev website, you can lose points unnecessarily. Redirection can slow down your website, which lowers your score. A third common issue is with alt tags, or alternative text. For every picture on your website, there should be descriptive text. The web.dev website puts this issue in the accessibility category, but it's also an SEO issue. Why is that? Well, when you're building websites, it's important to know that you're not just building websites for people. Robots visit websites too. Search engine spiders index your web pages, which determines their ranking. Every little point boost can help your website to become more popular. When you add descriptive text, that helps the robots to see. While artificial intelligence is improving, their vision is still not that great. Is it a red car, or is it a steak? Alt tags can add context. Meanwhile, having trouble seeing can be a problem for people. For visitors that are blind or vision impaired, alternative text helps them to better understand the visual content. The description should be brief but informative. Screen readers will read the text aloud. I've seen a lot of web developers grumble about web accessibility, but it's important work. It can help people while helping your website grow. According to an infographic from the CDC, 4.6% of adults in the United States could have blindness or serious difficulty seeing. If your website receives a modest 10,000 visitors in a month, that's almost 500 people that need additional help. Once you have images on your website, this leads to a fourth common issue: image optimization. If your images are bigger than they need to be, it can significantly reduce your Lighthouse score. But even if your images perfectly fit the space, they still can be too large. That's where an app like ImageOptim can help. This Mac app is a free download, and it can dramatically reduce the file size of an image, with no or minimal loss in quality. It depends on the settings. Just drag the image file onto the app, and then wait a moment. Once the app finishes processing, the file size savings could be huge. If you don't have a Mac, the Squoosh web app is an alternative. Carefully managing image sizes and formats is why Photics.com was able to get a perfect score. The web.dev website automates auditing. It's a checklist of what makes a quality web page, and it's free to use. There's even an open source listing for Lighthouse on GitHub. This video is not to say that Lighthouse is the best, or not the best. Rather, it's to say that if you're not using anything to test your website, this could be a really good place to start. And this is pretty exciting. This one video gave me lots of ideas for future videos. This series of web videos is still new, and it can cover a lot of different topics. If there's something in particular that you'd like to learn, you can leave a comment. If the idea is a good match for this channel, then it might be a video on Photics TV.